Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. We have a Bachelor in Paradise update from Brandon and Serene, the relationship that looked great on paper, looked great on the season, but turned out to be a relationship from hell. Now, nobody really wins in this scenario where both sides share what happened. One side threatens to release videos. The other side tries to cope with what went wrong, but not admitting to being a cheater. Relationships can go wrong and you still don't cheat. There can be bad moments you regret. Well, Brandon is speaking out again. This isn't a repeat video. He took to his Instagram story to share more about these blackmail videos. The videos he says were made without his knowledge during their fights. Now look, everyone should have accountability, right? If you're going to fight dirty, you should be exposed, but also like to what extent? Public shaming, canceling of somebody, trying to ruin them, that's way more of a sinister motivation. If someone swears every time they fight and they're horrible, it's like, I don't see that necessarily being terrible to want to show your therapist, to be like, look what's going on behind closed doors, because that's why it's so complicated with these interpersonal relationships. The brave, smiling people we see on our screens and influencing is not always who shows up to the fight. So I'm going to share exactly what Brandon said. He has a pretty long Instagram clip where he decided to talk about this. But first, here's what spurred all of it. This is a clip from the conversation where he first mentioned these videos existed.
Because I don't want this to be my fucking life from now on. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get 8 calls at 5 in the morning. And I got to talk to her till 3. And if I don't talk to her, she's going to release the 80 videos that she has of secretly recorded fights, or she's going to release whatever. She's going to go on the podcast and ruin my life. And I just heard this over and over and over and over. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm back on the show. It's just like, yo, what's going to happen today? And then my anxiety started going up and it started leading into depression. And I didn't know who to go to. And I couldn't afford therapy at the time because I'm paying for this.
So here's what I can tell you. When all else is lost, when you feel like you've got nothing to lose and everyone already hates you, why not share your side? So I think Brandon fell on the sword, and people continue to say, oh, you were a cheater, this, you did that wrong. And while he did address it 11 months ago and said, I didn't cheat, we weren't together, now he's again saying this was way darker than people knew. Now, he got a lot of hate for this podcast, and so did Clayton. They got a lot of hate. Here's a good comment from, I think, how sums it all up. Someone said, I think it's good to give Brandon the opportunity to tell his side. And I understand the point is to show that men can struggle in the same way as women in relationships. I do think it's bad to post this clip painting Serene in a bad light, because now people are going to flood her comments being psychos. I also realize the importance of clickbait for influencers and their incomes. I just wish this wasn't the world we live in. I agree. I wish this wasn't the world we lived in either. But isn't it interesting that these Instagram videos get so many more views? I mean, look let's see how many millions of views this got, or half a million views, whereas the source material, the actual video, has 25,000 views. So not everybody who had a hot take actually watched what Brandon had to say. But the big and damning takes were people like Serene's brother, who said, I have receipts. I was there. This man has personally apologized to me for his abuse to her. Now, if you're going to go ahead and say someone abused somebody, I'm not saying you need to go share that. Like, that's super personal. I totally understand that. I'm just saying Brandon, whether he's innocent or guilty, has the right to respond to that. You could say he opened up the wounds by sharing this episode with Clayton, but at the same time, is it really the end of the world that he wanted to share his side of the story of what went down? So I find it wild that Alana Noel came out yesterday, released a bombshell podcast episode, and the main Bachelor subreddit did not cover it. Look, I mean, it was our biggest video of the day. There's clearly a thirst for this information, and it's about being fair. It's not about throwing Serene under the bus. I'm sure Brandon acted terribly in those fights. Why do I believe that? Because he's about to admit it. Let's just listen to what he had to say.
I'm going to be as open, honest, and as transparent as possible. I need you guys to hear my words. I'm a terrible communicator sometimes. I've talked about this so much that...
And by the way, he is a terrible communicator. You're going to see this here, that his emotions get the best of him. But what do you want? A guy to read off a script like Devin did? He's trying to tell you how he feels, and you can see how he kind of gets manic. And I don't blame him for that. This obviously means a lot to him. You can be in a happy relationship now and still have all of this muck that's still there from the mischaracterization of what happened.
I just want to touch every base, okay? I am human. I am not perfect. As long as we get that out of the way, I'm going to be open and vulnerable about my lowest moment in my life, okay? Here we go. Let's talk about these videos. These videos were secret recordings of me. The fact that I have to talk about secretly recorded videos of me is crazy. But they're secretly recordings of me that my significant other took.
Which, by the way, is illegal in California. You need consent from both parties to record.
Let me tell you how it started. It started as in fight. They would bring up a past fight. I'd be like, this is not how it went down. We'd argue about how it went down. So they start secretly recording in a fight so that if it ever got brought up again, they could go back, play it, and they could say either I told you so or not at all. You know, if that's not how it went down, it just wouldn't be brought up.
By the way, this is so relatable for relationships where we remember how fights go differently. And we say fights, these disagreements that exist, you know, about you filling up your love language, quality time. You're not telling me you love me enough. You're not giving me the attention you used to give. It's very normal to have conversations where you want the best out of your partner. It sounds like these fights just had so many other issues. Who knows what they came from? Was it the insecurities and pressures of being on the show? If you want to give Brandon grace, you also need to give Serene grace. It's a hell of a lot to deal with the pressures in the comparisons of how many followers you got and who's liking who and who's talking about who and who's having their moment in the sunshine. I feel bad for both sides that what could have been a good relationship was ruined in at least one way by the microscope of the audience.
These videos were for me, I guess, and then they were for the therapist who managed to only see half of one in our entire span. And then they were for, again, their words, not mine, they were held over my head, so if I ever talked, they could ruin my life with them. So I thought, hey, I might as well just take accountability with you guys and tell you what's in them.
Please.
But yes, in the midst of this person's anger, I was able to see the recordings, and there's a minute clip, 2-minute clip, 3-minute clip, 30-second clip, all chopped up clip to tailor just to me. There's also a 10-minute clip in there, 12-minute. Anyway, I still have it somewhere in my phone. But yes, this is what's in those videos. Now, I want you to know there's no physical abuse that ever happened in any relationship that I've ever been in, and especially in this one. And I saw comments about it, so that's why I'm talking about it.
Now, to be fair, the main comment was from Serene's brother that said he's apologized for his abuse. He didn't say physical. Now, other people might have taken that. That's why the big A word, going to talk about abuse, you just have to be careful because, you know, if the videos show Brandon punching things or doing anything violent, even if it's not to Serene, that's a terrible look. Throwing stuff. I mean, this is what like a petulant child does. I'm not accusing Brandon of doing it. I have no idea what's in the videos. But if you can't access your words in communicating with someone, you lost the argument. You lost it. Whenever you go above whatever that threshold is, whatever that decibel level is, you just need to stop, take a break, walk the dog, do the dishes, just go set it back to that normal level. You cannot yell your way through connecting with somebody. So in no way am I endorsing whatever's on those videos. I have no idea. But if he's saying he didn't physically abuse, great. That's good. That is baseline for a relationship, is to never lay your hand on somebody else. Absolutely. What else was on the tape that could have been him? I mean, you know, are you throwing lamps around? You know what I mean? Like, this is what we just don't know. That would, look, I mean, there are plenty of types of abuse that are not physical that people should be held accountable for. Psychologically, like, you know, threatening people with different ways, just to threat. Again, I'm not saying he did any of that. I'm absolutely willing not to judge someone for something I have not seen on a video. You know what I mean? If the videos do come out, then we have a whole different ethical issue with the videos coming out, but also what's on those videos, you know? So at this point, you know, what are we supposed to do? You know, pretend like we know?
It's disgusting. I was raised right. I know my mama's in the back saying, because I would never lay a hand on a woman, ever,
Good.
okay? I have the strength to walk away whenever I wanted to, okay? I never, ever, I'm getting riled up. Let's stop it there, okay? Anyway, but in these videos, I definitely, it's me of my lowest moments. You are not going to see anything positive in these videos. It is all my lowest moments in the relationship captured secretly. It is me yelling at my partner. It's me cursing at my partner. F you, get the F away from me. I don't want to F and be here. It's me putting my partner down. I don't think you're a good partner at all. You keep looking at my best friend, texting my best friend all the time, which we found out.
So Brandon had a hunch that Serene was into his best friend. This best friend was Alana Noel's boyfriend, who alleges that Serene and whatever the other person's name is, flashed him while they were on Clayton's season. Again, before they dated Brandon. But Brandon had this hunch that, oh, she's into him. He says nothing ever happened. So it's kind of a he said, she said situation there. Either way, she did send photos, I guess, to him. But again, I don't even know the timeline of when that happened. So it's, you know, there was clear jealousy there. Whether it was valid or not is kind of up in the air. Anyway,
I'm taking accountability because these are my actions, and my actions were disgusting in these videos. I was a terrible partner, and I hate watching myself as a terrible partner, because that's not the level I hold myself to on TV, off TV. Disgusting behavior of myself, and I take full accountability. That's it. I've already apologized to this individual, to their family, for my actions and for my accountability. I can only say about my experience, but watching a video, I was poked to an absolute limit until this person got a reaction. And then when they knew they were recording, they would become calm as a cucumber, and it'd just be me at my worst moment. And that would be a trigger, because I don't get how they could poke and be up here, then be.
So what he's saying is that Serene would instigate him to get to that hotbed level and then hit record on these videos. Who knows, right? If one side is recording videos of the other side to prove that the other side's the crazy one, you wouldn't be surprised that the person recording the videos secretly would also try to act normal. We've seen this play out with other celebrity videos that have come out where one side's going absolutely crazy. I mean, we saw this with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, right? We saw the video that Amber Heard recorded of Johnny Depp. He was, I don't know if he was drunk, belligerent, slamming cabinets. I mean, the guy was unhinged, but he wasn't physically abusive. No, again, I think that's absolutely wrong. Now, on whatever spectrum of abuse you want to call that, when you harm, I mean, we have, is punching a hole in the wall. I mean, this is unacceptable stuff. You should never do that. Because if you punch a hole in a wall, and again, I don't know what Brandon did, so I'm not saying he did that, but if you slam a door or punch a hole in a wall, what you're saying, you're taking that physical aggression out on an object, but what's to say that doesn't lead to taking it out on a person? So I do understand that, what's going on there, that would not be healthy. We don't know if that's what happened with Brandon, or if he's just, telling her to F off and F you. That's not healthy at all. That's not healthy. But again, he's either getting ahead of it because she plans on releasing this, or he's just saying, you know what? The threats of you releasing it don't have power on me anymore. I own up to it. I did it. I was at my lowest point. That's not me pimping for Brandon. That's just like, gosh, if we've ever been in a position where we're just not at our best version of ourselves, you look back on that with such shame. And so many of us live those moments where we were needy or just in a toxic relationship or a toxic fight. I remember once hitting the dashboard of my car, and it's like, what are you doing? You can't do that. But until you're put in a hot water situation, you don't know how you're going to react. You learn that that's not the right way when you overcome that, and then you have a new baseline for what's acceptable. And those healthy boundaries, I mean, who am I to judge somebody else when they own up for the way they were in the past? The best you can hope for in his situation is to not be that way again, and to move forward and not repeat those cycles.
down here. Anyway, that's what's on the videos. I wanted you to tell it. I wanted to tell it. I want you to hear it from me because you're not going to hear this from anyone else but me. I don't even think they can come out because that's so illegal to, one, even do, and then two, to post illegal videos of me that were secret recordings of me chopped up. Anyway, I'm taking accountability because I want you to hear it, and I want you to know that I'm not perfect. And I wish that I was. I wish I was, but I'm not. And I made several mistakes, and I own them with you guys. I've already owned them, but I'm going to own them. I'm going to continue to own them till the day I die. I'm not going to run around them. To anyone in Bachelor Nation who was a contestant who had to see these videos to get a viewpoint on me, if that's your viewpoint on me, please, that's your opinion. I'd rather you be curious, ask me as many questions. I will be open and honest with you. If you guys have questions, I will be open and honest with you. But yeah, that's why I was fearful of these videos. I have zero control over them. They're all chopped up to me. They're my negative moments. And I guarantee you there's not a single positive moment or a single video in there of how I handled something right. But I wanted you to hear it from me before anything else got crazy. And I wanted you to know that this is from the horse's mouth. I was a disgusting person. I was a terrible partner, and I own that. And I can only speak for myself. And that's all I'm going to speak for because this is my accountability. I also listened to Alana Noel's podcast today. I would tune in. I got the text messages of her texting my best friend as well, and tune into that.
Alana, if you guys didn't watch it, I guess her iPad synced up to her ex's phone, so she was able to see all the text messages. When Brandon's story broke, Alana and Brandon talked. I don't know, how that communication happened, but I mean, Alana didn't go easy on Brandon. She mentioned he was an asshole during Bachelor in Paradise. He was different when he was, in a relationship, and now I've seen, whatever. So I think she held him accountable in whatever way she could for knowing him. I just think it's insane that in some parts of the internet, they're not talking about this story. It's not to blast Serene. It's just like, you see it all the time. And look, I mean, I do comedy every night. I'm talking to audiences of couples. You're hearing people talk about their best times, their worst times. Every single person watching this has been in a relationship where they go, oh my gosh, my ex was a real psychopath. And it's like, oh yeah, well, what did you do? And now it doesn't mean that your ex wasn't a psycho. It doesn't mean there aren't abusive and bad people out there. I'm just looking at this scenario to say everyone ran with the story, including me. That story that was that he cheated. That was what was said. He cheated. And there was photos of him dancing. And as Alana said, and other people have said, sometimes you don't announce your breakup right away. He says they were broken up. She threw the ring at me. He also admits to hey, maybe he was trying to work things out, but they weren't together. And he danced with someone and everyone labeled him a cheater. He'd rather share his truth, deal with the mess that comes from that, than be continued to be labeled that way. I personally, for what it's worth, I live on my crisis PR mind says, share your truth, be redundant as hell, keep on sharing it. The people that don't want to listen, you're never going to win them over anyway. But the majority of people are reasonable. The majority of people that watch this go, look, we don't think Serene's a monster. I just see two people in their 20s that are struggling in a pressure cooker situation. He mentions, I think in this Instagram video or somewhere else, he mentioned, maybe Alana mentioned it. We talked about, you know what it was? We talked about it yesterday on my podcast. I interviewed Alana. If you don't listen, we ended up talking for 15 minutes. It was actually extremely interesting on yesterday's afternoon episode because Alana shared a lot of information, which was that Brandon and Serene were actually together before Bachelor in Paradise started. And Serene wanted them to go on Bachelor in Paradise because she wanted to get the edit that Susie got and Rachel Recchia and everyone else got all this screen time. Serene really didn't get that on Clayton's season, and she wanted her moment. I don't blame her for that. If you're going to start dating somebody and then you have the show dangled in front of you where you can make a bunch of money and get a free engagement ring, I don't blame her for that. I think what we need in Bachelor Nation is more grace, because it's a hell of a world to go through. It's super triggering. We've all been in toxic relationships. And I just think it's only fair to hear what Brandon has to say, even though there's sub-communities that don't want to hear it. Why? Because it makes Serene look normal? I think it makes Serene look normal. Is it a twisted thing to do to record things and hold them leverage over someone else? Yeah, it is. But maybe she felt like the way he fought was so damaging to her that this was her way to, because Brandon had this golden boy edit before that. So it's not right, but sometimes you still understand.
Anyway, happy Wednesday, guys. I feel great. I'm in a very healthy relationship now, and I just want you guys to know that, hey, if you're in San Diego, come say what's up. We can talk, we can chat. I'm open to it, and I just apologize to everyone. I hold myself to a higher standard, and I am going to continue to do that, and I guarantee you I will never fall like that again. Love you guys. If you hate me, I love you, and have a happy Wednesday.
All right, so the question with the last 30 seconds, does it come off contrived, forced, almost odd? It comes off odd, but I think it's because how do you even go about talking about something like this and come off normal? I do believe that you can be in a happy, healthy relationship and still have the pains of the past. Like, you can recover from your past relationship, but then the internet still drags you and I don't know. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. I guarantee he's not going to lose one follower. He'll probably gain a bunch of reasonable people. And look, I talk about this all the time, right? This is the horseshoe, okay? It's good when I get into my world of drawing on things. The horseshoe, right there. See that? The horseshoe, you've got people on the left and people on the right. And the crazies exist in the horseshoe, and they're actually closer to each other than they think. Most of the people that are reasonable are up here, and that's 90% of people. 90% of people are in the fat. Does this make sense at all? I don't think so. I need to tell a straighter. 90% of people are super reasonable, understand nuance, understand the relationship was bad. These are people, in unique scenarios, on a weird show with drinking alcohol, being needy as hell, and it's bad. It's bad, bad, bad. Then you get the 5% on either end. You got the men are always right, and then men are always evil. Those you got to throw those out. Those have to go because the guy isn't always right. There's plenty of scenarios where the guy's a monster, Colton Underwood. There's plenty of scenarios where the guy's not a bad guy, Blake Horstman. There's plenty of scenarios that it's so much more nuanced than that. And yet when I talk about it, when Clayton talks about it, the quick and easy way for the crazy people on the fringe is to call them a fucking men's rights activist. Are you kidding me? Why? Because a couple guys want to try their best to share emotions, when if you don't share your emotions, you do it in unhealthy ways, and you just don't need that. I think society's heading in the right direction where we use podcasts and other forums to just talk. Why do words have to be so powerful, right? And by calling people and labeling them names, we're kind of trying to silence them. I say don't take the bait. Keep on sharing your truth. Try your best to be graceful of the other party in the process. Don't limit collateral damage. And I think that's the way you have to go in society. A lot of PR people would say that Brandon should just move on, don't talk about it. Fine, easy for them to say. I said this about Chris Harrison, even if I disagree with what he said on the show. I said right away he should have gone on podcast and immediately started talking so that the narrative wasn't spun. Brandon fell on the sword, didn't talk much about it, and what happened? Everyone thought he cheated. So now he's coming out sharing his side, and everyone's like, well, why are you doing this now? Well, better late than never. Let me know what you guys think. Keep it kind in the comment section. We'll be back with more content. Hit that podcast up if you want to hear that tea from yesterday's afternoon episode. Super fascinating. We'll talk to you later.